Today we're updating the legendary tier list for Rise of Kingdoms with the very best commanders that you can find in the game. Whether you just want to open field, battle it out in Canyon, you're a rally or garrison lead, this will tell you which commanders are the best of the best. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Infinite Galaxy, we're going to help break down for you which commanders are the actual very best investments in the game based off of our battling against the strongest kingdoms in the game, where using anything less than the absolute top tier meta gets you completely freaking wrecked. So stick around in this video for that full breakdown, and let's take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Infinite Galaxy. In Infinite Galaxy, you explore the vastness of space to claim territory, battle fierce foes, and yes, take down other players. In this game, you'll be building a collection of flagships. You'll use those to wage war with your collection of war ships, whether it's the sprightly frigate, the mid-sized destroyer, or the massive cruisers. Your fleet will go head-to-head against opponents in space combat and in the campaign. But it wouldn't be much of a fleet without its crew. Your crew will help define and customize the way that your team works together as you build out the most amazing space station the galaxy has ever seen. Building up and constructing things from your headquarters to your military center to make sure you're ready for the next encounter. Along the way, you'll do a ton of research, advancing your space station's capabilities in both situations against players and in situations that help you build up and get stronger. What happens next in this game? Well, my friends, it's entirely up to you. If you want to try out Infinite Galaxy, check out the link in the description to download the game. That will support the channel, and you can join my Nebula. Nebula 13, we've got a server versus server experience coming very soon that I'm super hyped about. So consider joining us in Nebula 13. Use the link in the description to download. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, the system that we use here will be put up on the screen. The very best grade you can get is an S, and in fact, we even use a plus and minus system to say that something is a little bit better or a little bit worse than its peers in the same letter grade. Also, I only do one S plus per category, so I have to try to find one commander that is the best of the best in each category. And by the way, I will do an overall rating at the end of this video. The categories we will do along the way are city defense, barbs and forts, open field, rallying cities, rallying objectives, defending objectives, and canyon. And I probably, the next time around, will add counter rallies as a category. And a big thank you, by the way, to Ruz, Cortex, and Sean, who helped me this time around putting together this list. So, city defense. I feel very obligated to tell you that you probably should just use a peace shield. Even a very high power player like myself with very, very, very good gear gets an overflowed hospital if I really try to defend my city. Which is why Theodora is the #1 pick, because for a lot of people, you're going to stay above 50% health defending your city, and then you're going to use a peace shield, which means you will get the benefit of co-ruler giving you bonus damage. Your AoE is going to hit a bunch of things along the way. The rating of Theodora at S+ is unchanged from the last time I did this list. I've still got YSS at an S. He's freaking amazing. The AoE is still really good. Even though it's obviously not circular like Theodora, it's still quite strong. Zeno, I give S-, as well as Wu Zetian, who is still pretty good for defending a city. And Artemisia and Amanatori both clock in at S-. I mean, these new commanders are really, really good. Amanatori, especially paired with Artemisia, is a great defense for your city, especially if they rally you with infantry, a Pakal Herald. Ooh, man, that is really, really savage. I don't think it's top tier. I still give that to Theodora and YSS, but it's a great combo. Now, I've only really got one change when it comes to barbs and forts, and it still surprises me that some people don't know that a pass in KvK That's right, a pass between zones counts as a barbarian before it's first captured. So XY is actually really, really good for hitting one of those passes. In fact, if you use XY with double C or other high DPS combos, you can swarm down a pass, and that is now the meta way of taking down a pass in Rise of Kingdoms, which is kind of crazy. Some amount of swarming and some amount of rallying. So I bumped up XY's grade because actually he is one of the strongest commanders you can use to rally a pass in KvK, and I have to tell you that the timing for getting your pass before your enemy really, really can matter a lot. But this brings us to the open field category, which I think is where there was a good bit of movement from last time, but maybe not too much. And we also will be entering the point now where I can start to talk about the new commanders that have made their way into the game recently, and that is Honda and Suleiman. I will, however, say that unfortunately, these new commanders make very, very little change to the meta of Rise of Kingdoms, and I would not give this new commander more than an A+. Honda, however, I'm going to clock in at an S-. I think he's going to be very good. I think he'll be particularly good with Tamaris or Herald, but I don't think you have to have him. He's got AoE, but most people don't have talented leadership sets, certainly not legendary talented leadership sets, and they're going to be sticking with their other commander investments, most likely. We'll see over time. I think Honda could sort of take more and more of a role as more people obtain him and also as they build out equipment for him. But when it comes to the best of the best in the open field, I've still got to give that title to Guan Yu. AoE damage that is massive, a silence that is massive. My number one best march in the game, without a doubt, without a question in my mind, is Guan Yu and Leonidas. They still really reign supreme as the king. But I am loving Amanitore and Artemisia. I said they would be S-. I would now rate them at S. They are so good. It's so much AoE damage. It is reactive damage. They're tanky and sustainable in that they're just very hard to swarm and they'll still trade pretty decently. I really like these commanders, and I think when Amanitore came out, I really was underrating how good they would be in actuality. I also, by the way, have to really pay homage here to Pakal, who I've bumped up to an S from an S-. If you want to trade positive, even if you're getting outnumbered and swarmed, Pakal Herald is the best way that I know. I used this to cheeseburger a lot of this KvK and just do a ridiculous amount of damage considering the position that we were in. Yes, Pakal deserves the S for open field, even though I don't think he's all that great for just your everyday, I'm going to run around with a murder ball in the open field. No, I don't think so. It's just for cheeseburgering, it's so nuts. I have to respect how good he is there. And I also bumped up Saladin because the thing is that although I think XY is better in the open field, you got to respect that Saladin is just good. He's just really good. And he's not targeted as much. And it feels silly. It feels silly to influence my open field grade based on how much he is targeted, but it just is relevant. Everybody now is not targeting the Saladins. They're targeting the XY. And that means you can probably do some good damage because it's Cav. You can get away from a bad fight. Reducing the skill damage you take is amazing because you're typically not getting focused for a while. Reducing the counterattack damage you take is a big deal. For what he is, he's got one of the better kits that is available for a single target damage commander. I think if he did AoE, my God, man, Saladin would just be completely nuts. His talent options are really fantastic. I'm very happy with rating Saladin at an S, and I used him all KvK, and I don't think I would have wanted to have used XY in his place because of just how much focus I would have taken to that march. I feel very happy still using Saladin freaking William. Now, in terms of commanders I downgraded, there were a couple. Chandragupta, I've just been hearing like he's fine, but not amazing in the open field. And I think a part of that is that you won't notice how good his debuffs are because other marches get the benefit of that, not the Chandragupta march. As I scroll way down, look at this. This is my one of my lowest level legendaries here. I really like that he gives himself health. I really like that he reduces the health and defense of the target. I've just been hearing from people that use him that it's like fine, but they're feeling like it's just fine. So I'm giving him an S-. I feel like that might even be a little aggressive. He still deserves an S probably for open field, but I'm okay with it. And also, I've bumped down Mulan ever so slightly to an S-. I thought I would enjoy Mulan more, and it's just really, really hard to know how much of what I'm doing is attributable to having Mulan, who I can't even find in my roster because I now sort by power. I changed that around so that it's easier to see where my equipment is. Obviously, none of my equipment is on Mulan. There she is. She's only level 30. I mean, the buffs are really, really good, but I found that my Trajan Mulan was just getting the snot kicked out of it. And that's fine. It's kind of designed to be a little bit of a punching bag and to buff other marches. But at least when I was using Ethelflaed even, or when I was using Herald, I could expect to trade positive potentially, but not when I'm using Mulan. The thing that I'm getting by using Mulan is basically the march speed. If you get into trouble, not gonna lie, 30% march speed for 3 seconds gets you out of trouble. As long as you're not like deep behind the enemy line, I actually found the march speed boost to be really quite powerful. Beyond what I would have expected. And I was expecting to be more hyped about the other stats here, but for me, it was really about repositioning on the battlefield when I needed to in a really strategic way and to get out of situations where I would have taken potentially a really negative trade. So it's very hard to see in the report just how much benefit you're getting from Mulan, but I still felt like, man, it just wasn't quite what I wanted to be doing. I feel, and I start to question if would I be better off given my insane commander depth to be able to just bring a march that does more damage in the first place. I don't know. Things that I'm considering, but I just bumped Mulan down to an S-, which I feel is a more appropriate open field grade. Again, I mentioned Honda, I think, is going to be S-, and I kind of look forward to seeing what we could do with him. Now, when it comes to rallying cities, I think there is still one undisputed champion, and that is the XY with Chandragupta. Here is where XY truly shines. The amount of damage you can do to a powerful city is disgusting. I bumped up slightly my rating of Nebu as well for that Gilgamesh-Nebu combo being really fierce. And if you didn't see, when Abe got rallied by that combo, it's really, really good. I'll have a card up in the top for that video with the Gilgamesh Nebu. It's gross, man. And Nebu cannot be swarmed. Not easily. I mean, 30% counterattack, it hurts to try to swarm a Nebu rally, even though in the grand scheme of things, the archers are a swarmable rally. It's not great, okay? The other rallying city commanders, I actually left this all about the same. You could use Alex or Ramses or Guan Yu. I don't love those choices. You could use Herald with Pakal. I don't love it. I have Gilgamesh rated higher. I have Chandragupta obviously rated higher. I've got Pakal up there. Attila Takeda are still S. But the majority of this sort of city hitting list is unchanged. I would like to see Honda Tommy and how that does. But until I've actually got a report in my hands that says it's good, I'm going to leave XY with the S+, followed closely by Nebu, who is very strong. And when it comes to rallying flags and forts, here is where things get very interesting. And I got really, really aggressive with the rating system to truly differentiate what do I think is the best rally and the next best rally and the next best rally. And you gotta understand that there is definitely rock, paper, scissors at play here. So I'm going to give you what I think is like the best overall rally. If somebody says, I want to invest in one rally pair, what should it potentially be? Well, this will be your answer for rallying flags and forts. But just keep in mind that some things now counter other things when it comes to rally and garrison. But the S+, in my opinion, is Gilgamesh with Nebu. And this is just a very, very strong rally. You can use it against archers, and it's fine. You can use it against infantry, and it's absolutely disgusting. And ideally, you would not use this against calves. But the thing about Gilgamesh, especially when paired with Nebu, is that it's actually a somewhat difficult rally to swarm because of that 30% counterattack damage that you're getting from the Nebu. And I think that the Gilgamesh Nebu rally was better than the Gilgamesh Ramses rally on average. And the Nebu is more punishing if you try to swarm it. Now, the reason we gave Gilgamesh the S+ here and not, for example, Nebu, is that you need the Gilgamesh to really pull this off. You don't really need Nebu because you have Ramses. You don't really need Ramses because you could do Nebu. You have some options for who is the secondary to Gilgamesh, but the Gilgamesh primary really is a part of what makes this so effective. Now, I also ranked up Herald and Pakal because I had them slightly lower. And you know what's funny is that although Herald and Pakal are pretty hard countered by Amanitore and Artemisia, the problem with an Amanitore Artemisia garrison is you really do need to have pretty much full archers to trade well. You can't really trade out what the garrison is and all the troops in the garrison mid-rally. So a Pakal Herald is just fine to use into a Cav garrison, a Jadwiga garrison. I thought that was just fine. So I think that Pakal Herald turned out to be a really, really good tanky rally, both because it counters the Cav garrison, but also because this is actually not swarmable. If you swarm Pakal Herald, you are going to get pwned. You are probably going to fill your hospital, and you are probably even going to get dead troops, a ridiculous amount of them. Pakal Herald, whew, this rally is really not amazing for trades, but ridiculously hard to swarm. And that is where it kicks into high gear, and it deserves a good rating, which means I had to bump a bunch of stuff down. Previously, the S+ was XY. Now I have him at S. I bumped Alexander the Great down from an S- just to be really clear that, like, he's not meta. So I put him at A+. I put Guan Yu at A+ as well. Like, he's just not meta. If you're rallying with Guan, like, if you did that in this KvK, it was a laugh, man. It was a real joke. Let's see, who else here? I got Cyrus down to A+. I've got Saladin. I've got Leo. Like, all of these do not, like, if somebody was rallying with this, it's just some of the worst trades you'll see, okay? And it's not that maybe you couldn't do that in a KvK that's not as, I guess, stacked as this KvK was. Really, in this KvK, like, you were either rallying with Pakal Herald, you were rallying with Gilgamesh Neb or Gilgamesh Ram, or you were rallying with XYC. And anything else was almost certainly a mistake. I mean, people would rally Attila Takeda into Amanitore and Artemisia, and maybe there's a world in which that would do okay. But I swear, man, we traded practically 2 for 1 in our favor almost every time that hit. There were 3 rallies that were really viable in this KvK, 1 for each troop type. Which brings us to garrisoning, by the way. And I just want to throw something out there that if you aspire to be a garrison captain, this is going to be a weird one. I think every kingdom needs many garrison captains. You get really wrecked if you don't have captains to cover all the things that are going to get rallied. It's hugely problematic. So you need as many meta garrisons as you can muster in a kingdom, but it sucks to be a garrison captain unless you don't like fighting in the open field, in which case, good for you, be a garrison captain. But if you like to fight in the open field, it sucks to have your march in a flag. It sucks to have to play a little more cautious because you're worried about accidentally taking your captain out when you don't mean to, because you're trying to field fight at the same time or do something else. So just be careful for what you're getting into if you want to be a garrison captain. It's very important, but just keep in mind that you're signing up to not be field fighting as much, which for me, sitting in 2 to 3 garrisons at a time during this KvK was very frustrating at times. So for defending objectives, you got to hand it to Amanitore. Godspeed and good luck if you want to try to take down the Amanitore Artemisia garrison. Amanitore is the no doubt slam dunk S+, followed by Artemisia as an S. And I do feel like my previous rating of Jadwiga at an S was spot on. She was so good paired with YSS, and that was a very difficult garrison to swarm when compared to Amanitore and Artemisia. So I felt like Jad YSS is a very, very close second, but still second to the Amanatori Artemisia combo. Jad YSS was really freaking great. Now, I also had to heavily rank down from the last time I did this tier list. Xeno was S+. I actually would give her S-. The Xeno Garrison was the last thing I wanted to use in this KvK. In almost every circumstance, even against Cavs, I would almost prefer the Jad YSS than to try to stack an infantry garrison with Xeno, because, man, all they got to do is just switch the rally, and all of a sudden, man, God, Xeno was not amazing, especially dealing with all the Gilgameshes. I really do give her an S-. And it sucks, but like I just don't think she's nearly as good as she used to be. And again, we may have just felt that more because you either had the meta or you got pwned in this KvK. So we had to be playing the meta, and it was not, in my opinion, in most cases, the Xeno. Now, I also slightly downranked Theodora and Wu Zetian to A+. Dude, I'm telling you, like it was a real laugh to see a Theo as a garrison captain, as a secondary, in this KvK where you had to have the meta. If you really had to, you could use her. You could do that. But I didn't love it, quite frankly. And you were in trouble. Your only hope with a commander like Theo is that you're going to get some people with the AoE. And if you do, you offset the fact that it's just not nearly as good as a YSS when you're battling against a really tough rally. Now, I think slightly downranked Saladin. Saladin or Esong, like these commanders were just not viable in the same way that they were in the past. I mean, you used to be able, and Cortex did this in the past. He'd throw his Xeno YSG in there every now and then. And you just can't get away with a Xeno YSG, in my opinion, in the same way that you used to. You could play around and try to get a few kills, but I would not recommend it in a really difficult KvK. No, sir. And the Saladin Jadwiga was just not the same universe as the Jad YSS. Not even close. I get that theoretically that could be okay, but it just, in my eyes, was not nearly good enough here. This brings us now to Canyon, where very little has changed. I think that Esong is still really the best you could do. The circle AoE is just really gross, and he's got the best circle AoE in the game. That said, I did really underestimate how important Amanatori and Artemisia would be as a combo. I am using that. A lot of people are, and it's just very top tier to use those two together. I did also slightly rank up Pakal, who has been performing pretty decently under the right circumstances as an offlane, with Pakal and Richard, or Pakal and Alex I've seen. There are some interesting things you can do with Pakal in the offlane, just because of how tanky he gets when he is swarmed. I actually think that worked out better than I expected. I don't think that the new commanders, Honda or Suleiman, are going to really change the Canyon meta much at all. I think that Honda is the only commander that might stir things up a little, but probably not. And the only reason I say maybe is because his AoE is really gross. Like, it's a huge AoE template. It's quite impressive, but I just don't know that you would use that over Nebu and Esong, which are already freaking amazing and everybody already has them. So I don't think the new commanders are going to be amazing, but I am very pleasantly surprised with how good the Amanatori and Artemisia were. Now, after I've gone through all these ratings, I do want to point out that it is shocking how little of an impact I feel that Honda and Suleiman are going to have on the meta. I just don't think they're going to have that much of an impact. I have seen nothing to prove that they do. For open field, Honda's good. In fact, I did a video where Abe expertised him, and we were testing, and it was very good. Card is up in the top if you want to check that out. It was actually shockingly impressive. But other than open field, I'm not sure that he's adding all that much, and he's not adding any unique debuffs or anything. He's just pure damage. So you got to go out of your way to make a leadership set of gear for this guy, and maybe people will. Maybe they will. But I struggle with that more than just a little bit, which brings us to our overall ratings. And we've got a new crown, or I guess a new commander to wear the crown anyways, for the very best commander in the game at this moment in time. And you may be a little surprised that I'm actually going to give that crown to XY. XY is amazing in the open field, does a ton of damage. He is the best way to rally a city. The XYC rally is probably your best bet if you can hold the field against the Amanitore Artemisia garrison, which in my estimation is the best garrison in the game right now. And he's really good in Canyon. He also has a little bit of extra utility in the fact that, like, if you're going to hit a pass, like, this is who you want to hit the pass with. XY is, at this moment in time, I am very happy and comfortable to say, the #1 commander, but followed very, very closely by Nebu, in my opinion, as the #2. And Nebu is just very quietly become a staple for open field, for rallying, for Canyon. Nebu is amazing. He's reducing the rage of the enemy, giving you march speed, giving you defense, doing AoE. I mean, the only thing that would make him better is if he actually had 4 skills for the open field. He is really amazing. This means, by the way, that since we've dethroned YSG, I had to bump him down from an S+ to an S. I mean, he's still great, man. He's still amazing. And Nebu with Esong together are kind of disgusting. I have bumped up Amanitore and Gilgamesh and Herald and Pakal because I think that their role in the rally meta right now and garrison meta has really cemented, at least in my eyes, been very much cemented in this last KvK where we saw the rock, paper, scissors fully at play. I think that all of them are very top performers that it would be a mistake to ignore. I did ever so slightly bump down Chandragupta. I am still conflicted about this because I think that he's better than people give him credit for, but also he appears to start to be a commander where, other than for the meta rally, where he is amazing, make no mistake, XYC, he's very good. For open field, he's not really as necessary. If you're bringing 1 Cav March, it's definitely XY, and it's almost certainly going to be William as the one you pair with him. It's just they're very squishy together, which that's the only downside to XY. People have figured out that he's so good that they just target him first, and now even people are starting to use Saladin XY just to hide the XY so that he can do the work that he was designed to do. Because people target the XY, they don't target the Saladin, not as much anyways. Now, Honda, I'm clocking in at an S-. I think that he is going to be a solid open fielder, but I think that's where a lot of his value is going to sort of start and stop. And then, unfortunately, man, I got first place in his Mightiest Governor. I just don't think Suleiman is going to be all that amazing as I get hit with verification here. I gave him an A+. I honestly am not sure the last time I gave a new commander that came into the game an A+. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that there's something cool we can do with this commander, especially because I got all these sculptures of the damn guy. But I am very doubtful from what I've seen that he is going to shake things up just yet. Maybe they'll add some other commander to the game that makes that possible, but for now, I just don't quite see it. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. And if you're looking to play Infinite Galaxy with me in Nebula 13, the link is in the description to download. I am very much still enjoying that game. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies.